All right, welcome. Okay, welcome to our Games for Climate Education Showcase, our second in a series of three webinars. There was one earlier this morning that you can presumably check out the recording of if you missed. And this second one will be going on now. And we have one more tomorrow in the afternoon. And just got to remind
6
myself
Eastern.
at 6
It's at
Eastern. Thank
6
you.
Eastern.
Thank you, David. This one focuses on some resources that are most appropriate for younger students, sort of elementary school aged folks. Although games often spill over in terms of their applicability to a broad age range. The ones tomorrow are a little bit more for older students, sort of high school-ish aged adults and so forth. Um, we have two presenters today. Jane G is going to go first and talk about some of her work. And then our second presenter will be Bryan Mundell. Jane is the co-founder of Spring Bay Studio in Toronto in Ontario, Canada. And she'll be talking about some of the efforts she's got going on, particularly her League for Green Leaders. And then Bryan, about halfway through, will take up the mic and tell us about some of the games that his studio, Adventerra Games, has developed. And we'll have a bit of question and answer for each presenter. And so be thinking of any questions. Feel free to plug them into the chat. And I'll just quickly mention that the idea for these showcase events grew out of a group of us who came together via the Climate Literacy and Energy Awareness Network, CLEAN. I will post that into the chat. They're a group that's been around for quite a while doing earth science. Whoops. I think I responded to Kareen instead of sending it to everybody. Let me try that again. And they're a group that's been around for quite a while that started off developing resources or developing a collection of resources about climate and energy education and does some other work related to helping community in that educational space. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Jane, and we'll have her present for about 18 or so minutes, do some question and answer, have a brief intermission while we switch speakers, and we'll have a little bit more of information at that point. But take it away, Jane.
Thank you so much, Randy. I really appreciate your kind words and introduction. And hello, everyone. My name is Jane G. Randy mentioned, I'm speaking from Toronto, Canada. At this moment, I'm really excited about the opportunity to share our work in using games for climate education. So I think I will start with a presentation. What I will do is I will bring it up, and my presentation today is about healthy competitions for a healthier planet. If you cannot see the slide moving, just give me some hint. Sometimes those kind of a tech issue do show up. So I will start with a little bit about ourselves first. Okay, So we actually, I'm one of the co-founder for the company, and the other co-founder is also like me, a mother. So we're connected with the environmental issue when we develop our own games that we think should reflect to our value. And then we did most of the parents or people will do just do something. So we want to use our skills in developing games to create some learning experience where traditional kind of a way cannot access those kind of like a knowledge or the learning concept, such as like the food webs. Like a lot of the scientific kind of a concept, it's hard to get some hands-on experience. That's why we thought, okay, maybe we can create an opportunity for the kids to build virtual ecosystem. And our effort got the recognition from various prestigious organizations, including the American Association of School Librarians. So that's how we started to, we're very excited to supporting teachers to use our games in the classroom. So far we released the three game in a mobile app series called iBiomes. Got featured by Apple worldwide many times, and also been recognized by United Nations Environment Programs in one of its report. And then during the COVID time, we start to develop our current application. Sorry about that, called the League for Green Leaders. For that one, currently we got two recognitions, one from the 100 ED. This is a Finland-based education program. And then another one from the direct district administration as one of the finalists for the top EdTech products in 2023. So I will talk a little bit about why we're doing that. As a mission-driven company, we want to support school teachers on environmental education. We want to help teachers to engage students with learning through a hands-on and a play-based approach, where this is really, I think we could benefit from some of the experience we had in the past, and also engage students more with environmental literacy, but more so to empower them to take action, because we think learning is the first step. Taking action is so critical. Talking about the League for Green Leaders, it is the world, it can provide a worldwide online competitions that are playful and relevant with the actions that children can take at their age level. So it has aligned with three SDGE goals, the climate action, life below water, and life on land. So with that, I think I would like to give you a very quick overview of our games in a very quick overview first. So the League program has three pillars. The first is play to learn. We want to utilize the game that we develop, because the game can provide some hands-on experience for the kids to learn the scientific concepts such as the food web, the human impact. You can have a simulation around like a global population on some of the sustainable decisions we're making. What are the our human impact in the story manner? So those are all from the play to learn pillar. And the to show you how exactly that works, I think I will switch gear to start to share this one in the YouTube. So this is our game. We started by building the iBio wetland because most of the people live close to a freshwater ecosystem. So the kids there will be able to build an ecosystem like right now. I'm just so sorry. I think this YouTube, I still kind of trying to learn how to pause it. But the benefit for building a virtual ecosystem is that you then have something that you can manipulate. You can change some of the population for the species currently in your virtual ecosystem and see the ripple effect in the step-by-step manner, like what happens when you change something, what will be the direct impact for the species connected to it. And then another layer, obviously it's not stopping there, but at least they can see some sample of the ripple effect to highlight the ripple effect. And also we design some of the badges. So it's a good tool for the kids to validate their understanding. Can they make some changes to one species and make the other species all numbers going up? And then they will get some badges in that kind of a manner just to challenge them with their understanding. So they can build 4 ecosystem in the iBiome wetland game. And then we also have a game about the ocean. So we listen to what the teacher suggestion, start to talk more about human impact. So in this game, other than building 4 marine ecosystem, the students will be able to learn 3 environmental issues facing our oceans right now, from the increase of ocean acidity to the plastic pollution to even overfishing. And all that part were told in the stories where students can unlock. So connect the stories with the everyday convenience that we all enjoy, such as cars, the plastic bottles, those kind of thing. And as sorry again, as the students play this game. This is how they're going to play. This is how they play with the food web. You can see there are some fixed positions and the species are floating around. So in a sense, we're asking kids to figure out who is playing what ecological role. And once they figure that part out, they will be able to learn more about the species and also introduce that species to their ecosystem. And at the same time, they progress on the stories. They can learn what's wrong with the disposables, what happens to the plastic bottle on the ground, become marine debris, and what we can do to help. So along that line, what we can do to help in the latest game, iBiome Changing Ice, we start to talk about the climate change. We want to help build the connection that everything we do seems far away from the polar ecosystem actually have a significant impact to the local community and the region. So they're still building 4 ecosystem, like a sea ice ecosystem, boreal forest, and the tundra, Antarctica. But also at the same time, we added more gameplay around the greenhouse gas effect. In this example, we're using the real photo for glaciers in North America, and then use that as a background. The white tail, the top tiles represent the snow and ice, and then we can see the CO2 in the atmosphere as we generate and burn more fossil fuels. How can we let those kind of yellow ball, which represent the heat, to escape from our atmosphere? So they can learn what is climate change by just playing the game. And also in this example is the 2 seasons for the tundra, and the local impact, how people living far away are impacted by this. And this one, it's really along the line that we want to talk more about the climate science. So we are using the satellite image of the Arctic ice cap to highlight to invite the students to examine the ratio changes over years for the young sea ice, which is the blue tiles represent, and then the old sea ice. So those are kind of like created based on the satellite image, and also see over years how the ratio changes. So that's really introduced the scientific evidence. But all those learning is trying to prepare them to take action. Like in the mobile version for the game, if they are using their phones, they actually can set up their goals, but also we invite them to kind of measure the impact they're creating. If you are saving, tracking this much, how much will be the CO2 you saved, and then what that number, why it matters in terms of the conservation part for the sea ice. So the kids can even have some virtual pad augmented to their cameras, just trying to highlight the connection we had with the ecosystem there, the impact that we can create. So this is really is around the play to learn, and then talking about the league program. The second pillar is really collaboration, play together. Because of the technology will allow us to enable children anywhere, as long as they have internet and computer, will be able to join us to have a fun competition. Not only they will be able to see, the like their classmates, like this is a evaluation team we set up, but you can get an idea, like everyone can see this is me, I log in as a whale, and then they can have a different kind of like a game board where really they're experiencing something kind of like a game, but also on the same time they will be able to see the total of the carbon that we saved or we reduced by making more sustainable choices. So this is because of a model behind it. Right now, what you are looking at is the Earth Day 2025 league competition. We're still, this is on right now. We're in the second week. So it works for the beginner level, which are designed for elementary schools, and then also intermediate level for the middle schools, and then the advanced level for high schools. So for this one, we don't have any high school. However, we do have some middle school students who submitted their presentations in here. Like they can compete for 3 different categories. The top teams, where we're taking like like really is the gamified concept, just to have a collaborative play where everyone is learning, interacting, and then also getting points. The top team gonna be the collaboration for all of the kids in the one team. And then also like the CO2 saving leaders, those are individuals, kids who are really working hard on reducing their carbon footprint, but they can also showcase some of the project they've been working on in the schools. Like, like we can just pick one. They can submit either a PDF document to showcase their understanding, or sometimes they can have some others maybe making a video or taking either even just a screenshot, or maybe sometime a picture of the project, the physical project that they've been working on. So as
Excuse me a
they
second, Jane. About 2 minutes, and we'll try and go to questions and see how we get with that. Folks, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat, and then we'll see where we get with that. Thank you. Pardon me.
Thank you. Thank you, Randy. Yeah, I think I'm about the time to wrap it up. Like as I mentioned, the third pillar is really about how we can make the change together, especially when we're talking about elementary kids, 7, 8 years old. When they heard about climate change, they do want to they do want to help, and then we actually are showing them a way that they can do more than they think. So I'm going to show you one of the learning activity. So for this game board, you can see there are 14 tiles over here, and we're on day 9. So every day there is one corresponding tiles in there. The kids can click on that and then interact with the program. So their games, they can launch like play the iBound games, but also I would like to start from here just to show you how quickly they can track their CO2. Say I want to track my CO2 yesterday. And then what I do is like, I'm going to answer some of the questions. Maybe today I change my diet a little bit, maybe less meat, and I'm still using the same way to go to school. And maybe, they can also do some recycling over here, perhaps. And once the kids answer those questions, they can also say no for the plastic liters. After that, they submit this, our system will calculate how much they save from the three different sections. So like because the food getting more sustainable, so therefore they get some savings, and also from the recycling part. So no finger pointing, but to ourselves. What have I done in today, yesterday to save the CO2? And then that helps to increase my points over here, but also increase my CO2 saving, which all contribute to the leaderboard we've been talking about. And I think I will probably will stop the presentation here. Let me just go here. Yeah. Um, and I'm ready for any questions.
Okay, and we've got a small enough group. Let's see, I'm just seeing if we've got any questions in the chat yet. I don't see in particular, but we've got a small enough group. If anybody has questions, we could probably do a, whoops, quick unmute and that sort of thing.
I have a question.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Um, I'm not an elementary school educator, but I work with people who are elementary school educators. How do we get access to this? And what does it cost? And how does it all work? It looks awesome, but how do I get it?
Thank you, Carrie, for the question. I think I leave it here. There's a QR code here where you can sign up. And then once we receive your sign up, we will reach out. We provide online workshop to help teachers to access the program. And you can try our program completely free for the first 5 days of any league competition, because we do not want to be the another kind of create a barrier for environmental education. So we have that. And even you want to try one of our competitions out for your entire class, up to 30 students, you only need to pay us for $74.99. I think that's the price tag. So really, there's a lot of ways we could work together. And sometimes we will also give, like a license out in case the teacher are really struggle with the funding. So that should not be a problem at all. I hope that answered your question, Carrie.
It does. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Anybody else got any questions? If not, I'm going to throw one in there. Actually, I'll throw one in there and we'll see if anybody else has one. Jane, when I first met you, I was familiar with your iBiome games, and I thought they were quite good. I'm curious, in your work with the Green League, sort of what would you say are your main motivations for doing that sort of an approach, as opposed to the iBiome, and what are you hoping to accomplish, and how's that been going?
Thank you so much, Randy, for the question. I think that's really related with our experience when released those iBiome games. At the beginning, we saw the game was released for the mobile platform. So like we have that feature where like you see in the latest Changing Ice game where kids can track their CO2s, right? But when they track, they can only keep the data to their phones. There's no kind of a collaborative or group-based kind of like approach. But we are thinking, yes, everyone can make a difference. However, I think with the unprecedented challenge, it will be nice to see the collective effort, right? So far, because of the League for Green Leaders competition, we will be able to invite the students everywhere around the world, allow us to show the individual CO2 savings and the collective savings. But with the mobile part, it is impossible to do. So that's really, I think, was the first motivation, just to showcase using data on the same time to showcase the individual effort. And I think the second motivation is really sad to see we heard, I'm not sure whether you guys are aware of the report from a UK researcher, basically over 2/3 of the youth population worldwide experience eco-anxiety. The best way to address the eco-anxiety is giving children the opportunity to do something. And then if we can showcase, quantify that, and also maybe amplify that, I think that will be a great advantage to use technology. So that's the two major motivations, I think, behind the LEAP program.
Great. Thanks so much, Jane.
Thank
I
you.
think in interest of time, we'll shift on. These things always go by so quickly, and there's so much more to hear. But and please feel free if you have further questions to pop those into the chat, and we'll see if we have time at the end. But now I think we'll have a couple of quick announcements, and then we'll move on to Bryan Mundell presenting about Adventerra games. I'll just remind folks, since we got started pretty on time and some people came in after that, we are recording this webinar. So you are being recorded, but also the recording will be available later for folks who signed up for this. We do have another webinar tomorrow in this series that is at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. It'll be Richard Rice and Jonathan Gilligan presenting a game called Energetic, and Anya Johansson presenting another game called Climate Fresk. We did also have a couple of another in this series of webinars earlier in the day today. Mateo Menapes presented Daybreak, and Misty Novich presented Life Reimagined. So presumably if you missed those and want to check out the recordings, that's available to you as well. I'll just quickly mention that this showcase event kind of grew out of an effort funded by the Climate Literacy and Energy Awareness Network, or more promoted by, I wouldn't, the funding's not so much the thing, but through their network. They're a group that's been doing stuff with earth science education and has a curated resource database of lots of climate and energy related resources. So I just stuck that into the chat. And the main emphasis of this working group was, as well as just giving folks who are interested in games for teaching about these sort of topics a place to get together and talk, which this showcase series grew out of. We're also building basically a database of games, simulations, and similar sort of things, VR and so forth, that are related to climate and energy. That's a work in progress, but the several members of this group have sort of done their own versions of that already. I kind of did a roundup of that I've just placed into the chat, of sort of a lists of lists. David Blockstein, who's one of the people involved in this effort, has a collection of things. Karine Olam, who's also a key driver of this effort, has a list of mostly tabletop sort of games, board and card games. I've got some stuff that's a little bit more emphasizing simulations and so forth. So if you're looking for other things of that nature, please do check that out. And at some point down the road, probably towards the fall, we'll try and have that stuff kind of more rounded up into a single place. If you came in late and haven't yet introduced yourself in the chat, I'd encourage you to do that, including if you work with younger kids, especially what sort of age or grades that you work with. And let's see, I thought there was one other thing but anyhow, just let us know where you're coming from. That working group, even though it's a spin-off of the CLEAN effort, the Climate Literacy Energy Awareness Network, most of the people involved in that aren't particularly clean devotees or long-standing members. It's really for people who are interested in games and simulations, no matter what your arena is. So if you're interested, let us know. And we've been meeting fairly regularly. It'll probably be more like monthly going forward. And now I'm going to turn it over to Bryan. He and his sisters Ruthie and Sue are all involved in a company called Adventerra Games that I believe Bryan started in about 2002. They have a number of games and puzzles and other resources available on various environmental, ecological, climate, and so forth sort of topics. And most of them are geared for use by fairly young kids, sort of elementary school age, but I'll let him delve into the details of that more. Again, we'll go about 18, 20 minutes of presentation by Bryan and then pop into Q&A mode. So if you have any thoughts for questions for Bryan along the way, please toss those in the chat. But again, we have a small enough group that we could open the mic to folks as well once he's done. And I believe Bryan said he's got some time after the meeting formally ends at the top of the hour. If folks have further questions or want to discuss further, we can leave the Zoom meeting open until that's dealt with. So take it away, Bryan. You're on mute at the moment, so go ahead and open your mic, and it looks like your slides are displaying.
Here it is. I think I got it.
Oh, there you go.
So, can everybody see my screen and not my face?
Yes.
That's the intention here.
Yes.
Okay, good. So let me start with the name of the company, Adventerra Games. It's a combination of two words, adventure and terra, Latin or Italian for earth. The idea is we're from the beginning in 2002, we've been designing games that are supposed to be fun and giving students, getting them excited about caring for the earth.
Okay.
So what is our sort of mission, our stuff? Well, first of all, we like to walk the talk. And for me at the beginning, walking the talk also meant using ecological components. So as much recycled paper as possible. We try and get up to 80 or 90% recycled paper. You need a little bit of virgin paper because the fibers get shorter, but that's a long story, which I'll save you guys. But also non-toxic inks. We started doing that 25 years ago. Other companies got on board 10, 15 years ago. I'm really happy about that. Even the big companies are now using more recycled paper components and for both, also for wood and stuff. There's still a lot of plastic out there. When I wander around the New York Toy Fair, I'm still astonished at how much plastic is there. Let's see if I can get the next one down. Okay. So essentially, what we do is we design games to empower young people. So I was really happy that the previous speaker, Jane, mentioned eco-anxiety. For a couple of years now, since the COVID era, I've been working in the eco-anxiety area, trying to figure out whether our games effectively do reduce eco-anxiety. So we're trying to get together some external funding to do a research program on that. Essentially, the kids really can see the problems out there, but they really need the solutions. And so our games are designed to kind of spark their interest and give them some specific tools that they can do to do that. So I always liked Mr. Rogers, although I confess I didn't watch a whole lot of TV, but this was a real gentle man as opposed to a gentleman. He was also a gentleman, but this was a guy who really made a lot of difference to a lot of you. I'm not sure how many of you remember Mr. Rogers back in the 70s and 80s, but he always focused on calming kids when there were scary things happening. And this was his idea was that, look for the helpers. So my question is, don't you want your students, that should be plural, to be helpers too? And our games, I hope, are designed to do that. That's our intention, is to get our games to do that. Well, I'm going the wrong way. Sorry. So give you an example. The first game I'd like to talk about is the game Mission Ocean. I'm really proud of that because a couple of years ago, we won the gold medal from the Toy Industries of Europe. Legos won the silver medal, so I'm even happier about that because they make plastic toys. Anyway, for reasons that I don't want to go into, we knew the founder, this Dutch guy who founded the Ocean Cleanup Organization. And I asked him what kind of ordinary household items he's cleaning out of the Great Pacific Ocean garbage patch, which, by the way, is about the size of Texas. And he's building these huge machines to clean them up. And then that's not enough. He invented machines to clean up the rivers, so the plastic gets picked out of the rivers before it enters the ocean. So he said, "What are you picking up there, from ordinary households?" Oops. Result was this game, Mission Ocean. You can see even the ocean cleanup is named on it. We make a small contribution to him for all the games we sell. And the idea is really pretty simple. It's a roll and move board game. Those of you who know board games, you know what roll and move means. We're trying to raise awareness. Essentially, cute, cuddly sea animals are loaded up with plastic, and the kids have their rowboats, and they have to go out and rescue the plastic, or rescue the animals by removing the plastic and taking it out to the rescue ship. So they're modeling what this gentleman from Holland, Boyan, is doing. Simple game, cardboard, assemble your own ship. You see the tokens. It's again, it's not complicated. We've had good success in selling this to dive shops, for example. So essentially, there's the picture of what's happening, right? In reality, whoops. And the idea is the first player to free the animal from the plastic trash wins the game. So they're competing, the animals are moving around. And what we are hoping is we're hoping that, the 5-year-old will go to the store with her father and say, "Dad, don't buy those plastic straws. They're strangling my turtle." How can you say no to your daughter or even your son or something like that? So that's the goal. So the second game was actually our first game. This was a game designed in 2002, released in 2003, which was the United Nations International Year of Water. Remember going around about the United Nations skyscraper in New York knocking on doors until I got the 4 bureaucrats with their stamp of approval so that I could use the UN logo on this game. We got it, and it helped. It sold a lot of games over the years. Essentially, this game it seems like a pretty simple, roll and move game. You slide down the river with your token, and you land on either a green monster, a red monster, or a green frog. And if you land on a green frog, you pick a green card, which is a water saving card. Sorry, I'm going backwards. There it is. So there's the board. You see the little fishes up there in the top. That's, those are the movement tokens. You roll the dice. You land on a green frog or a red monster. You pick a red card or a green card. If you land on a red card, that's a water wasting card. This is just an example of a water wasting card. These are behaviors that you do at home or objects or things that you can get in your house to save water. So the hope here, of course, is that if you don't have a water saver shower head on, then effectively, the kid goes home and tells the, mother or father, "Hey, why don't we have that? Why don't you buy one? It doesn't cost that much." Here's another one. Fill tub only halfway when you take a bath. So once again, this is stuff the kid can control with the parents. I can tell you the best example is I can't tell you how many parents over the last 20 years who've come up to me and said, "Hey, Bryan, I got a bone to pick with you. My kid played your water game, and now I got to turn the tap off when I brush my teeth." It's like, great. What else did he teach you? Right? That makes me very happy, of course. So the third set of cards, the blue ones, are quiz cards. And all I did is I took the 4th grade national science exam on water conservation and I chopped it up into quiz cards. So during the game, if you land on a question, another player will read you the question, and you'll get the benefits or avoid the losses if you answer the card correctly. So the real limit on this game is you've got to have 2 readers in every game. So that's 3rd grade, sometimes 4th grade, depending on, how what reading level your kids are. So by playing the game, your kids are actually studying for this science exam. And that makes it very popular with elementary school teachers, obviously. So the winner of the game is the one who saved the most water, the gallons of water, in their cistern, which is recorded around the edge of the board. But there's a catch, because water is a civil right. It's not just it's not just an economic commodity. So all 4 players have the responsibility to make sure that everyone in their group has at least 10 gallons of water to start their turn. That's sort of the minimum for life. If you don't have 10 gallons, you can drink from this community water jug. So if, let's say you have 3, you need to drink 7 from the community water jug. Oh, what's the problem? There's not 7 there. There's only 4. Now, how is that? Well, it's because the other players have not voluntarily made donations from their own cisterns to fill up that community water jug. Now, if a player finishes the river, right, then that's a problem, because it would appear that that person has ended the game, but somebody has been left behind. In that situation, everybody loses. So there's a diffuse social incentive for the players to donate. And you get these conversations among kids who are like, oh, you have more water, you should donate more. Says, I know, but you're ahead of me in the track. You're going to get the bonus and win. I'm not going to donate anything. No, wait, how about you donate a little and you did a little more because you have. Anyway, the kids work this out. 3rd and 4th graders figure this out, and they learn the balance between social collaboration and competition, because not everybody is motivated the same way. Our games have both elements, because each game is designed to motivate both those who are competitive and want to win, and those instead who want to achieve a social objective. So our 3rd game, I think I still have a few more minutes, is Powerhouse. This is a game for middle school students, so grades 5 to 8, something like that. And this is a game, it's a little bit like the flavor of Monopoly, but instead of trying to build a real estate empire, you have a modest house, which you've rented with the other 3 players as a young adult. And you're finding that most of your spare cash is going away to the utility company to pay for energy. So the game is that you want to try and save as much energy as you can for your group and also for yourself. So we don't denominate the results in kilowatt hours, we denominate them in money, because we want to show the connection between saving energy and living better because you have more money to spend for other things. So effectively, we're making the case that wasting energy is bad for the planet, but it's good for your wallet if you save it, if you can figure out how not to do that. The restriction here, there's not really a restriction. You could play the game even at younger ages, but to play the game well, you need to be able to do long division in your head. And so the game actually gives you a chance to practice your math skills. Essentially, part of the board is in the house. So there are 5 rooms, and there are a stack of cards on each room. And the cards are like the cards in water games. So you have energy wasting cards in red and water wasting cards energy saving cards in green. Now, if you have a 30 card played down in front of you, then that means that you've got to pay the bank 30 at the beginning of every turn. If you have a 40 green card, then that means the bank pays you 40 every turn. So you accumulate money pretty fast, or you spend your money pretty fast, depending on which cards you have. Oops, there, oops, there. Now in the second phase of the game, they actually happen all at once, because you have the option of going out of the house. You can go to the hardware store, you can go to the appliance store, or you can go to the building contractors. And the building contractors, of course, that involve more than do it yourself. They're larger projects. But the idea is always to invest in products and services that will reduce the energy cost of your house. The cost of that service is always in red on the left, and the amount the bank pays you in savings is always in green on the right. So here's where the long division comes in. If I have a choice between those cards, do I want to pay 200 to the bank and get 50 every turn back? Well, you divide 50 into 200 and it means I get my money back in 4 turns. Or I could maybe spend 220 and only get 40 per back. It's obviously it's a better deal. And the math, the division helps the players figure out which is the better deal. Here's another example of that. In the appliance store, there are several examples of each appliance. So there's good Energy Star ratings and less good Energy Star ratings. So the kids figure out how useful the Energy Star rating system is and how that works. So just a side note, this is a good game for schools because it's really flexible. If you only have 53 minutes until your class ends, you can say, okay, we end the game at 8:05 and class ends at 8:15, and that gives us 10 minutes to debrief. It doesn't change the game if you end at 8:05 or 8:10. You can be flexible. You just count up the cards. Essentially, you can figure out who wins when the teacher says time is up. So that's handy for teachers. The winner is the one who is saved the most money, saved the most energy. That's the key here. But we want them to understand the connection. That's it for I think I'm pretty much out of time. I have a third game, which is called Global Warning, and that's for older kids. It's generally for high school kids, but anybody who's curious about that and wants to learn about it, I'll hang out afterwards. I'll answer questions about the 3 games I've talked about, and I will also be happy to take you through a few slides about Global Warning if you're interested. So thanks very much for your attention. Really appreciate your your participation here, and that's it.
Great. Thank you so much, Bryan. Yeah, let's pause for a minute. I don't see any questions yet in the chat. So if we don't get any soon, I think we can jump into letting you tell us a bit more about Global Warning. I appreciate both of the speakers, Jane and Bryan, being very prompt on their timing. I know it goes by really quick, so thanks so much for that. Appreciate everybody joining in. Are there any questions that people have for Bryan? While I'm waiting for that. Oh, go ahead, Kareen.
Yeah, so Bryan, you can run your mouse up to the top again and turn off the screen share if you want.
Wonderful.
My question was, did you say whether there are like special, well, 2 things for educators. So are there special instructions that for classroom use, or is the teacher just kind of on their own to figure out how to integrate it into their lessons?
Well, one of the things we've done is prepared some teachers' handbooks and students' handbooks. To be honest, we haven't got those for all of our games yet. We're working on that. The games were originally developed for schools, and originally we had for the water game a 28-page handbook. And so now we're with lab exercises and everything necessary to create a water conservation curriculum. So right now we've got parents' guides, which are 3 or 4 pages, and we've got teachers' guides for some of the games, and we're working on them. But it's all intended to be a free download from the web.
You can look at this is Sue. You can look at the water game exercises on the water game product page from the web.
Okay,
That was
nice.
recently posted there. And the Global Warning, which Bryan hasn't covered yet, also has a teacher 4-page exercise explanation of the rules, simpler, and a 1-page cheat sheet, which is really helpful. Also on the web.
Yeah, one of the things we're doing in this pivot from the commercial sector, which we've been in since 2019 when we opened our American branch, to the educational area where both my sisters Sue and Ruthie are focusing most of their time on. We intend to finish developing all of this for all of our games. Note though that most of our games are for pre-K and kindergarten and games as well, right?
Thank you.
Great.
Oh, by the way, there's a 20% discount for educators. Whether you're teachers, teacher trainers, or whatever your role is, if you're exposing the games to more than just, say, a family unit, then we give you 20% off just because I want to thank you for being educators.
And how is that acquired? Is it at the checkout? Do you declare that you're an educator, or you have to have a school
Well,
email address, or?
to do that, you just need to email Sue, and Sue will essentially arrange that with you.
Got it.
Yeah,
Her email is on the last slide.
we are no longer doing e-commerce for the education department on our website. It wasn't cost effective, so we have for non-educational stuff. There is a partner that's taking care of selling onesies and twosies, but not on the web. So we're taking larger orders, like 5 or 6 games, 10 games preferably, but reasonable numbers. And you have to do that through me.
Great, good to know. Thank you.
Yeah, the games are available commercially for distributors, stores, things like that. But the best way to get the discount is through Sue.
I'll
Great.
use that as a segue just to do a couple wrap-up things since we're close to the top of the hour, and then we can see if any more questions pop up, or if anybody's wanting to stick around and hear about global warming. People are busy, so they might want to, but may or may not be able to. Just wanted to note the folks who were behind this effort. Karine Ulam has been really the driving force of getting this series of showcase webinars. I know it's something she's been wanting to do. But as I mentioned at the top of the hour, this group came together through a sort of special interest group from the Clean Project. Jane G., who presented earlier, as well as Sue, who just mentioned that she's your contact at Adventerra for educational discounts, as well as David Blockstein and myself have been very integrally involved in getting these things together and are psyched to have folks show up to them, and definitely appreciate Jane and Bryan for presenting today. Oh, I'll also quick paste if I can find where I put it. Oh dear. My email address in the chat. If anybody is interested in being involved with our sporadically meeting interest group that came together to form this showcase webinar series, please let me know or get in touch with Karine or Sue or Jane if you already know them, and any of them could loop you into that effort. Like I said, our official charge for that group was to come up with a list of games to make some sort of online database, but this webinar showcase effort spun out of that, and I'm sure we're very open to just being a place where people interested in this kind of thing can talk, share news, organize events together, and so forth.
Interrupt just a second. It's for games and simulations, Randy. I think you left the simulations off. But so
Okay,
it's
yeah.
a database of both.
Yes, and yeah, I've traditionally been more interested in the simulations part, but we've got a very interesting mix of both online stuff. Karine's got a very nice list of tabletop items. Jane's company has developed mostly digital resources, so it's a real nice mix and blend of different sort of things. And I think I'll open it back up to Bryan to tell us a little bit about global warming. If people have to drop off, that's understood. You've got other things going on in life, but if people stick around, I think Bryan can tell us whatever more about that he'd like to. And I don't think I've forgotten any of my major things that I was supposed to do as MC. So appreciate both the speakers, appreciate the folks who organized this. And Bryan, I'll turn it over to you, and you can see how long people can manage to stick around and present however long makes sense in that regard.
Thank you, Randy. I thought I'd mention one thing before people start dropping off, that I'm also working here in Switzerland on a digital game, which is a combination of themes from several of our games. It's an advanced prototype, and we will be looking for teachers to play test the game. We'll have a teacher digital dashboard for it. So if anybody's interested, please write your email address in the chat, and I'll pass it on to my guys who are developing this digital game.
Oh, one more comment before you jump into that. I'll have to say I was amused by your Mr. Rogers reference, because he's from my hometown, Latrobe, Pennsylvania. So
Oh, wow. Okay.
it's always good to hear Fred's influence on the world. And I also just wanted to quick comment that I thought it was very interesting in your games that there was some overlap in themes between a couple of your games, sort of the red cards, the green cards, so that if somebody played one of your games, they had a bit of a heads up on, or a leg up on knowing how to play a different one. And I also thought it was really interesting with the water game, how you have a mix of competitive and cooperative kind of themes. I think that's a great thing. We always want to get kids cooperating, but kids also like to be competitive. So having that mixture was really nice. So, but anyhow, please continue.
Thank you for the compliments. I try to include that blend in all of the games, but the game mechanic is a bit different in each case. So I'm going to hit save again and see if I can get back to this. So going back to global warning, where are we at here? Hitting a preview before we actually show you global warning. There it is. Okay, so this is our first capstone game, and the idea behind it is to take themes from all of the games, the water, the plastics, the air pollution, the ground pollution, the greenhouse gases, and put them all in one game. I developed the game mechanic out of this, out of a game in team dynamics or teamwork that I was used in my executive training for European business executives. So the game mechanic comes from that, because I was trying to get these executives who are working on their own sort of siloed problems to try and think in interdisciplinary ways. And I used the same mechanic here because I wanted the players of this game. Initially, it was designed to be high school students and college students to try and think the same way. So the idea that is there are horizontal problem cards, and they are played out in the game for everybody to play against. And then there are vertical solutions cards. Everybody has a hand of vertical solutions. The solutions cards have the light bulb on them, and the problem cards have the warning triangle on them. And so, whoops, going the wrong way again. So essentially, as the game goes on, the temperature of the earth keeps rising. And so the team building aspect of the game is the players are watching this and figure out how they might be able to work together to try and slow that down as they're trying to win as individual players as well. So here's some sample problem cards. They come in all different colors. They're categories, about 8 different categories. Essentially, there are 2 numbers on each card. The house number is the local dimension of the problem, and the number in the earth is the greenhouse gas emissions, mostly CO2, but obviously methane's also important. So here's an example of a card that you can read. Essentially, that's a particular problem can be solved in a number of ways, including eating less meat. Or, for example, my university, Cornell University, has developed a new technology, a new kind of feed additive that reduces the methane produced by cows and sheep by about 20%. So that's another way to tackle this problem. This is the solution card associated with that one. Because when we developed this game, the Cornell technology hadn't evolved yet. It hadn't come out. So every time we redo the game, we try and put different technology in there. So here's another example of a problem, which is solid waste, plastic. And essentially, there's a recycled plastic card. Now, to solve a card, the colors have to match, and the solution card has to be just as powerful on both the local and the global dimension. So this 0, 1 could solve the 0, 1 plastic card. The other thing is it has to make sense. So you could not use a 0, 1 recycled paper card to solve this solid waste plastic card, right? Even though the numbers work, the colors work, but it has to make sense. So the kids they can challenge each other and they have to think about that. The other thing is solving environmental problems isn't for free. It takes money. So to solve a one level local problem, you need 1 billion Advent coin. To solve a 2-level problem, you need 2 billion, right? So there's resources are not just the cards that you need, but also the money which flows into the game and which is tradable. There's a mini economy. To win the game in a 4-player game, the first player to get 25 to have solved 25 local problems wins. In a 7-player game, you only need to get to 13. So there's what the board looks like. And that's an example of what happens when the players don't work together and they don't solve those greenhouse gas problems, the numbers in the earth. And so it gradually heats up every turn. And when it gets to 75, everybody loses. So it doesn't matter how many local problems you've cleaned up if the earth is uninhabitable. So that's what happens. The earth goes up in smoke. Now, the way it usually works, I can sort of give you a little hint. The players are often very competitive at the beginning of the game, especially in the first game, because they're trying to win. They're trying to like figure it out. Oh, I got these cards. What can I do? I got this money. Which card can I solve? How can I get ahead of the next guy? Well, as the earth suddenly heats up, then eventually we get up when we get in the sort of middle zone, the greens up near the top, around 40, typically some players, and they're usually girls, I have to admit, try and convince people to collaborate, to work together. Then when it gets up in the red zone, some of the guys come around and say, yeah, maybe the girls are right, we should collaborate. But by then it's too late. There's not enough time in the game to solve those problems. And no matter how well they collaborate, they all lose. So the meta lesson here is we need to start working together now to reduce those greenhouse gases. We can't wait another 10 years. That's kind of the meta lesson within this game. So the way you collaborate in the game is by swapping cards and combining resources to solve the solution or to solve the problem cards on the board. Because the really tough emissions cards are hard to solve with the cards that any one player will have drawn randomly. That's why they have to collaborate. If they figure it out early enough, they can win. Otherwise, they all lose. So in addition to the games I've described today, we have 11 other puzzles and games. Those are mostly for really young kids, 2 to 6, something like that. Check them out on our webpage. And thanks again for listening. I really appreciate it. I hope that I actually I always enjoy these because I always hear about other people and what they're doing as well as my own work. So thank you. Any
Great,
questions?
Oh, yeah, let's see if we've got any questions.
Yes,
I
thank
haven't
you
seen
so much.
any pop in
Bryan.
the. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, I really love the your products there, and then also the design, the like the reflection, the reflect to what we are right now. Just a quick question because you mentioned that that sounds like your games is also sold in the EU as well.
Yes.
Then I'm kind of curious, what the difference do you notice between EU and in North America in terms of the adaptation for teachers in the classroom for your products?
Well, there's not a whole lot of difference in the content because the European countries that I've worked with most are basically Italy and Switzerland and France, a little bit of Austria, not too much in Germany, but most of those countries are teaching the same stuff and they have the same interests. So generally, it's very similar. One of the things I've noticed in Europe is they will often buy English language games to use in their English classes, even though they're Italian schools, because the games are a great way to practice their English as well. So that's
Wow,
one of the other differences. Now, in terms of general acceptance by the population, I would say it's fair to say that the US is split, and Europe is much more a consensus, which is more similar to the blue state consensus in the US about the environment, right? So that's a little bit different in terms of the sort of political background. Funding constraints and funding situations vary dramatically across countries. In many cases, we have to get foundations to provide the money because there's no money. In Italian's public schools, they're very poor. Swiss public schools are relatively rich. I mean, there are a lot of big differences there, but they're micro differences. In general, the acceptance is really good.
great. Yeah, thank you so much. I know the like the difference between the blue and red in the States, but it's lovely to hear the story in the Europe as well. Thank you.
Sure, sure. Well, I'm surprised at actually the amount of support we get when we go to the National Science Teachers Association's conventions from teachers in red states, because they're still looking for the same tools, even though the political environment may not be so friendly.
That's right. Then that will turn into something, like the teachers may be just interested, but still like financially, they still have to depend on the school district and those kind of thing to make the deal happen, right? So I feel like a lot of the times I feel like the teachers are some of the teachers are really kind of like looking for all the resources they can get. That's really lead us to the option we have right now. You heard, like we just trying to get as many teachers on board as possible, even though economically does not make any sense, but we're really kind of like working on a mission. So so that's I just feel, the one more teacher I can support, I feel better. It's kind of in a desperate way in that sense.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think it's wonderful that you are providing lower cost alternatives for teachers who can't afford it to access your product. There is a little bit difference between our products in that once you've developed the software, the marginal cost of giving a copy is much less. Whereas with a board game, we still have to produce it. So that's a little bit different there. But nevertheless, I philosophically I agree with you. Getting games out to the schools is particularly close to my heart just because of the leverage. I mean, if you think about a kit of my water games being given to a school and it's played by 3 classrooms over 5 years, that's about 300 kids playing that water game. If each kid on average reduces water consumption by 4%, that means if you do the math, it comes to 1 billion liters of water saved.
Exactly.
Because that's just leverage. It's a leverage of 300 kids over 70 years they're going to live times their water consumption. Even 4%. It's a huge.
And never mind their parents, the ripple effect of their parents and their siblings, right?
Sure.
Exactly.
And while we're speaking
I'm-
about water game, I'm sorry, I wanted to point out.
Just second, Sue. Karine, I think Karine was mentioning in the chat that she's got to get running. I think we've all been set up as co-hosts or whatever, so you don't need to stay on, Karine, if you have to run to some other event.
Yeah. Thank you, Karine, for all your help.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate it.
I don't think you are set up as co-hosts, so that's why David made me the host. So
No, I thought David said we were at the start.
can you stop the recording from your side?
I cannot stop the recording,
Oh,
but he said it would end as soon as the meeting ended, so we don't really need to necessarily stop it. It'll just stop
Okay.
when we put out of the meeting. So if you need to
Yeah,
get
I just
running,
thought maybe there was a lot of stuff in here that didn't need to be on the recording if you wanted to keep talking. So I was gonna.
sure. I guess at this point, if you are set up to stop the recording, I think we could go ahead and do that because yeah, I'm not set up to do that. And we should probably wrap up soon, but yeah, I think we should not kill a lively discussion right in the middle. But
Okay, so we'll just put a thank you here and then I'll
Great.
yeah,
stop.
that sounds good.
You can keep talking. So thanks to everyone for coming, and I'm gonna end the recording.
Thanks,
Thank
Karine.
you, Karine.